from Seattle to the baseball diamond to the blue turf.
I just want to continue to prove to the people that believed in me that I'm all in. I want to work hard. I'm not looking for shortcuts. I don't like easy. I'm okay with hard. I'm competitive. I'm determined.
Our guest on the Boise Dev podcast is Jay Tust of Boise State Sports. Next.
This is the Boise Dev podcast. Here's your host, Don Day.
Jay Tust, welcome to the Boise Dev podcast.
Thank you. Good to be here, Don.
So we've known each other kind of a long time. When did we worked together at Channel 7. Mm-hmm. When did you first start? I was trying to remember this.
Yeah. Well, the years have flown by. What is it? The days are long and the years are short, something like that. Got here just in time for really probably the end of the golden era, I would say, for the Boise State football team. I got to see Kellen Moore's final year. So I got here basically in July of 2011, that summer, going into Kellen's final year. And I'm glad that I got here in time for that because, he has such a legacy and he was such an important person to the history of Boise State football and the rise and all that stuff. So the fact that I just got to see a little bit of that era, I'm really appreciative of that.
Well, and so, Kellen's, I still vividly remember Kellen's last game on the blue. I can't remember if that was the last game that season or not, but his last game on the blue, and he comes out and you saw the interaction between Kellen and Chris Peterson and just the genuine, I don't want to put words in their mouth, but the love between them, right?
Yeah.
And that feels like it was such a long time ago now.
It was. I think there's also for so long where you're like, oh, that was 5 years ago. Oh, that was 8 years ago. And now we're talking about 14 years ago.
It's crazy.
It's wild. Kellen is now an established NFL coach as the head coach of the Saints. Chris Peterson, it's been so long, he's no longer coaching. Now, he does his own little thing where he does, not a little thing, I should say, but, he coaches up NFL coaches. Spencer Danielson over at Boise State, they have their weekly Zoom meetings on Sundays, so he's still a person that is very involved, but just more in the background than, he was when he was a head coach.
Well, we still see him on Fox Sports, and you might see him if you're in McCall, out and about on occasion, spends a good amount of time there. Mm-hmm. So you spent 14 years, roughly, at KTVB. Let's rewind.
Yeah.
So we kind of level set. What, you grew up in the Seattle area, Mariners fan.
Huge.
I'm sorry.
It's heartbreaking still, especially seeing how close the Blue Jays were to winning.
Yeah.
We almost beat the Blue Jays, so I still like to think that we would have given the Dodgers a run for their money. But there's always next year, I guess. We
were looking at another date to tape this podcast, and you declined because you had hoped to maybe take a trip to Seattle.
I was hoping for
a series
it.
game.
Yeah, it was supposed to be last week that I was really hoping that I was going to be in Seattle with my best friend Tyler and my parents and my sister and my brother-in-law at a Mariners game. But
long-suffering Mariners fan.
Yes.
Like Ken Griffey Jr. fan.
Yeah. It's actually funny.
Who are the guys you watched when you were young and coming up and really enjoying watching baseball?
Well, if you have need perspective on how much I love Ken Griffey Jr. and how much he means to me, I was telling my daughter, Collins, my oldest daughter, last night how much I loved her, and she looked at me and she goes, "Do you love me more than Ken Griffey Jr.?" Yes, honey, I love you more than Ken Griffey Jr. by a little bit.
Family lore.
Yeah, right.
And how old is she now?
She's 5, a little over 5. I know it is. Yep. But that 1995 Mariners team, it really shaped so much of me as a person. And I know it seems really silly to kind of say that, Don, but I just go back to that time in my life, and I was 10 years old, going on 11. And that was just such a magical team that you got caught up in the emotion of anything is possible, refuse to lose, chip on your shoulder, not supposed to win. They come out of nowhere and they make the playoffs, and then they beat the big bad Yankees. But it was, Tino Martinez and Edgar Martinez and Jay Buhner and Joey Cora, Randy Johnson. The whole 1995 Mariners were just a fun story to follow. And my uncle, I'm his namesake, Jay, took me to every 1995 playoff game.
Wow.
And even back then, I brought a binder that had stats in it. And that's how I consumed the game up in the 300 level.
On the front?
I didn't have that.
Just Twitter hashtag.
I didn't have that hashtag at that point in time, but somewhere that's probably kind of where it was born, and everybody around me.
How old roughly?
Probably 10 years old. Yeah. But even going back a little bit further than that, I wasn't very engaged with learning in school when I was in kindergarten and things like that. And a fun story that I always like to tell is that my mom noticed I would tell her things that I would read on the back of baseball cards or statistics and things like that. And so my mom, who is just the sweetest human alive, she got the idea, well, okay, this is how we're going to learn and grow with Jay. We're going to get him baseball cards, and then that developed into autobiographies on Roberto Clemente or whoever. And that's just how I wanted to read and do math and all this stuff. And, I joke, like, there might be some geography or something that I didn't know that I should have known in first grade. But when the teacher would have, asked me a question about math, I would have said that, well, if you're, 2 for 7, that means you're batting 286 or whatever. But then I could also, I'd also go up, well, 2 for 7, then 4 for 14 or 8 for, 28, 286. And that's the way, even as a kid, that I kind of learned and things like that.
Lynn Tust, good adaptive parenting there.
She's the best. She's wonderful.
So you have this. It's funny hearing you talk about like the '95 Mariners. It reminds me of like the magic carpet Pokey Allen year at Boise State. Like smaller but similar dynamics of like, oh, this is so cool. And I grew up here and was super into Boise State football when I was little. And like, remember that season at the end, was it 95, 94? My dad took me on the blue and he's like, remember this. This is special. And like, so you carry that all through. And now you got kids who are young like we once were. And it's, Ashton Genty or whatever it may be. And that's the thing about sports, right? It kind of unifies a community and a town together. It
absolutely has the power to do that. And it has the power to change lives. Like, I would not be the human I am if I didn't go to every 1995 playoff game. Like, I firmly believe that. I don't know what I'd be doing, Don. Like, that was really a kind of an inspiring and motivating time in my life. And I thought that I wanted to play this game as long as I could. And I feel like for the most part, I did. And then when I was done playing it, I wanted to be like, well, now I still want to be around sports. So I initially just kind of thought like, kinesiology, physical therapy, heard it played a little bit better than, being a broadcaster when you're young. And those 7 a.m. chemistry and biology and all those types of classes at Washington State, I found out they kind of weed you out with those, I think. Yeah. So the communications classes started at like noon. And that just seemed like a perfect fit for me and kind of jump-started my broadcasting career.
So you glossed over it a little bit, but tell me about you played baseball. Where, when, how?
Yeah, my dad, he's the one that got me to fall in love with the game. And kind of the cool thing about my dad is he's not like a super intense sports fan. He was the guy that played the game, and he was a really good baseball player as well. He was drafted by the San Francisco Giants back in the day. But I'm a little bit different because I did kind of fall in love with watching the game and going to the games and learning about the players and all these things. But he just liked playing the game. And so he was the one that kind of got me involved in it. And when I was a kid, he had a lot of patience because I was terrible. I was awful. Like, literally, I would have been the worst player on basically every team I played on, probably until I was up till maybe 11, 12 years old even. And the 95 Mariners and playing backyard wiffle ball and all that stuff just still made me want to keep the dream alive. And I still got joy from the game. But my dad, who always was at like everything, and he never, I don't know how much work he missed necessarily, but he would move his schedules or work weekends or whatever it was just so he could still be there and support me. But there was one weekend where he couldn't be there. ORPMs. That's what, like, there were certain times in the year where, everybody kind of had to work for that weekend. And it was a very rare game that he missed. One of the few up until I left and played in college. And even in college, he saw a lot. But I remember just kind of going to the batter's box and just being like, you know what, screw it. I'm just going to swing and see what happens. I was a kid scared of the ball, didn't want to do it. And I vividly remember Northeast Tacoma Elementary School hitting an opposite field double to the right center gap, and I was standing on second base, and I was like, this feels awesome.
Yeah.
And so from there on out, I was like, well, let's just do that. And that's where it kind of clicked.
And how far did you take that?
I took it, I want to say as far as I could, because I got a little burnt out from the game. I was really serious when I played, and I didn't party or drink or do anything that a lot of, college kids do. And so I played a couple years in college. I was drafted by the Cincinnati Reds out of high school, and I chose to go the college route. But after going into my junior year, I just decided that I was kind of done. I was a little burnt out and wanted to try something new. And I had just transferred to Washington State, went out for a couple practices, and I could just tell like I was always really, really dedicated to the game, and I just didn't feel it anymore. So
interesting.
That's where I decided to just
career was bright and hot, and you kind of did it and then drafted. I mean, that's a big deal, right? And so you would have probably gone to a farm system to some small town, Boise Hawks, or not the Reds, but
you never know.
Boise Hawks-like team somewhere, and that's I've known a few people who've done that, and it's a hard racket.
I think that knowing myself at that point in time too, and I think it's a reason why I like doing what I do now so much is there are times where people might be critical of a certain player or things like that. I always have the ability to pause because I was always really tough on myself when I played, to the point where I wish I cared a little less. If I went 0 for 4, I'd kill myself over it. And then you bury your confidence and stuff, and it takes a long time to get back out from and around that. And so it is kind of funny to say there are times where I wish I cared less, but all those experiences I think kind of help shape who I am now. And even as I go back and I look at that, even if I said, you know what, I'm just going to sign out of high school, maybe it would have worked. Maybe something would have clicked, and it's very, very possible it could have. But I think knowing myself, I think that I did the right thing, because I don't think that I would have been. I don't think I would have been successful if I'm just being real with myself, because of how hard I was on myself mentally. I would have been 18, living away from family for the first time, in those types of things, and I don't know. And then on top of that, I think it would have been it would have been harder for me to go back to college when I got done playing pro ball. And I would have missed out on a lot of memories that I hold near and dear to me, that I got to experience with some of the best friends that I have to the day at Washington State. I mean, the 2.5 years I was there were just like the coolest memories that there's not much I would trade them for.
So you land on campus in Pullman. You are a big Coug fan. You get some measure of grief from Bronco Nation for that to this day. That will continue. And you get a comms degree, get done. What happens next?
So I go over back home, and I was working an internship at what was Fox Sports Northwest, what is, or I guess was, now Root.
And
it is Root now. But
Prime Sports, it's been called all sorts
of
things
a number of things.
Yeah.
But even
the regional Mariners cable station.
And I would do anything that they would let me do. Anything. And there's something that I take great pride in my...
Like 22?
About that, yeah. Yep. 21, 22 when I started my internship, get done with college, move back to Tacoma, and do whatever they let me do. And so, I mean, it was like humble beginnings. And that's why, you look at maybe kids getting into the business these days, and not to be the get off my lawn old man here, but like I would do anything for free. I would do anything, and I would probably do it for free, I should say. So that meant like I took great pride in my penmanship, and I would be up there at Fox Sports Northwest logging melts, logging tapes and stuff like that. But man, I wanted it to look, my log sheets looked perfect. And I just took great pride in like those small little things, and eventually they snowballed into bigger things. And I think that one thing that I do take a lot of pride in, and I know it was like a tough time in our country, but we were going through a recession, and I got called into my boss's office, and he gave me a promotion, he gave me a raise, and that's when like that just didn't happen. Like nobody was getting raises. But I think they saw like a value in me. And so in about a year and a half, I worked my way up to essentially a associate producer role on some of their pregame shows and things like that. Thought I was living the dream. And then one of my best buddies, Matt Lovelace, called me. He was working at KLEW in Lewiston at the time and was like, "Hey, our sports director job's open." And I was like,
This is before he came here.
Yes,
because he was at Channel 12 in Boise.
Yep, correct. Yeah. And I just remember thinking at the time, man, I'm in my mid-20s. I don't think I want to be moving to Lewiston, Idaho.
Right.
But I also knew, like, if I was ever going to, like, try to make this dream a reality, this was the time to go do it. And I decided to apply for the job. I got the job. The cool thing about Lewis Clark State College is it's their version of Boise State.
Yeah.
And their version of Boise State football is actually Warrior baseball, a massive baseball town. So I fit in right away in that community. Baseball players, we got a lingo we speak. We got kind of like our own little language, and I loved it. Didn't necessarily know at the time how much I loved it, but it was just kind of an innocent time in life where I was really building and learning a lot, and building my skill set and learning a lot. And even though it was not awesome living in Lewiston, Idaho in your mid-20s, I just think back about those times, and they were actually a big transformational time in my life, and it gave me a lot of confidence being on air in a small town. And then I moved here. So
there's an event this month with the four sports directors of KTVB over about 50 years. And, it's Larry Maneely, Mark Johnson, David Augusto, and yourself. And there's a couple-year gap between Augie, as those of us who know him, and you call him, where they didn't have a sports director.
Yep.
But KTVB decides, we're going to dive back in, have a sports director. And you get a call from Kate Morris, Doug Armstrong. Tell us about that.
Well, so the funny thing about when I was hired at KTVB, I was actually hired by a news director named Jim Gilchrist.
Oh, my boy, Jim Gilchrist. Yeah. Yep.
Never worked a day for him.
I remember, because he would always tell me, he's like, I gave Kate that one. That was my last hire. It was a good one. He would tell me that because I keep in touch with him. Yeah.
The thing I really liked about Jim that I never got to work for him, but man, he had an intensity about
guy.
him.
Yeah.
And I felt like
to win.
I felt like I was like coming to the big time.
Yeah. Yep.
And I was, but.
Have you ever watched his Murrow speech about Boise State?
Oh, I haven't. Maybe
I might drop like a little clip of that into the video here. We'll see if I get that creative.
You know, lately when someone hears that I'm from Boise, Idaho, the first thing they want to know about is, what's up with the blue field? Well, they want to talk about the football team, but what they want to do is they want to argue that Boise State has no business playing in the national championship. It goes a little something like this. They say, you're a small team. You can't run with the big dogs. You can't play with Ohio State, blah, blah, blah. The head coach of Boise State has a word for all of this, and he calls it noise. His team just goes about its business and plays. Why talk it to death? He says, put them on the field and let them get after it.
He hired me, and I actually signed my contract on June 29th, which is my oldest niece's birthday. And I remember I got it a couple of days before, and there really wasn't much to consider. I mean, I felt like I was coming here.
Yeah.
And I had zero negotiating power, because that's the way that it was back in the day. Whatever they offered, you were going to take, or else they were just going to go to somebody else. But I signed it on her birthday, and now she's like almost ready to go to high school in like a year or two, which is wild to me. But not long after that, he called me, and he said, I'm leaving. And I'm like,
what?
Well, what do you? I mean, I didn't say it like this, but in my mind, I'm like, well, what do you mean? You're leaving?
You're not.
Do I got a job still? And he was like, you honor your contract. You're still going to be hired here and all that stuff. And so I moved down here, and I remember walking into the parking lot, or driving into the parking lot. But I remember just kind of standing out there outside my car and seeing all the white Ford Explorers, all backed in, all marked up with Channel 7 logos.
Clean.
Oh yeah, and it looked like. Yeah. Anybody at any point in time, the whole news station could run out the doors and cover whatever was going to happen in the world. Like it just,
and you saw those things happen.
You did, but it just felt like such a force.
Yeah.
And so Kate Morris was the interim news director when I got hired there. And I just knew like I wanted to work hard and prove myself. And I don't know if when I got there was no sports director, as you said. There was no sports director title, but there were 2 sports guys. It was me and Ryan LaRondo.
Yep.
And I just wanted to work hard. And I think that one of my biggest driving forces it was actually the Idaho Statesman, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I remember.
They had a powerhouse of a sports department on
Chad
the time.
Kripe and Brian Murphy and Rachel Roberts and Joe Jasuski shooting
good point.
photos.
Yeah, Joe. And then eventually
3 or 4 other people.
They had a little bit of turnover, and then Dave Southern went over there.
Dave. Yeah.
And I mean, these guys were just like very good at their jobs.
Yeah.
But one thing that you would always hear about TV people is that, the newspaper guys would identify all the storylines and ask all the questions. Yeah. And then we would just kind of run the sound bites on air. That didn't sit well with me. It really didn't. So
me either. My
whole goal was like, okay, well, fine. I'm going to find my storylines and I'm going to ask my questions. And I want to get to the point where I'm so good at it that I like open up the Statesman newspaper and maybe they used a stat or something or storyline that that I came up with. And so that became my
bringing
whole
that
goal.
Baseball competitiveness.
And so that's what I wanted to prove. And then I also like immediately fell in love with the community and also recognized, going back to my days with the Mariners and the power of sport and how it impacted me. And I could see like that same thing going on in this community. So even whether it be the Boise State football team or some cool story at the high school level or whatever, I was like, I'm all in. I want to go find this stuff. And if I'm being honest, like probably worked a lot of unpaid hours, whether it be driving to Albuquerque and back in the car.
I can vouch for this.
My days off are always Monday, but you know what's always on Monday? Boise State's head coach's press conference. So that's like your big opportunity to really build a relationship with the coach. And it's really your only time outside of an end of a game, but that's even just a little more chaotic because a game just happened.
Adrenaline's flowing.
Yeah, exactly. So that's like really the time for you to sit down and the coach sees you and maybe you ask something that, okay, I respect that question or whatever it might be or that fact. And so, man, every Monday I was going to sneak in there on my day off and go attend a press conference. But I was competitive and I just continued to do that and show up and take advantage of every opportunity. And then eventually it was almost contract time. I was about a year out from my first contract expiring, and Kate, who I owe more to her than she will ever probably actually know, realize, or acknowledge.
I'll send her this.
He should, but it's true, and I think to some degree I've told her that before, but she impacted my life, heck, as much as the 1995 Mariners, which it's a pretty big compliment, right? But I mean, seriously, she believed in me, and a whole year before my contract expired initially, she was like, we want to extend you and we want to make you the sports director here. And that gave me like another boost of confidence where I was like, fine, now I'm really going all in, and just kind of went from there. But it kept me in Boise way longer than I thought, way longer than I would have thought. I thought 3-year deal, I'm out. I'm going back home. I'm going to go work in Seattle or live in Seattle or whatever. And then I loved this community, and covering Boise State football was awesome because they won every year, a lot. And I stayed here long enough that I met my wife, and now we got kids, and then now I'm still here.
You just like glossing over everything. I'm trying to pry it apart. Mm-hmm. I remember those early days because like I remember a Vegas trip, and I don't remember. It's probably a bowl game.
Yeah.
Because you started about the time I moved into the sales department, but I was still kind of helping here and there and did
some
travel.
It was probably my first bowl game with Kellen Moore, Doug Martin.
I think Shanti might have had
a big kickoff
kid,
game.
And like you were new, and I was like the manager, which was weird. But I just remember from that like that intensity you talk about. Like you were very serious. You really wanted to get it right. And not to denigrate other people, but like local TV sometimes has a mix of people. Some people who are in it to like win it, and people who are maybe just in it to get to their next job.
Yeah.
You said you expected a 3-year deal and out. Mm-hmm. 14 years, 15 years.
Yeah.
You've got deep roots here now.
Well, I would say there have been times where almost always my before my contract would expire, I would have it was usually Kate that would come to me a year early, and she would sign me a deal or sign me to a deal that would extend me longer or further or whatever. And that's just kind of the way that it always worked out for so long. So I never really got to really be a free agent or really explore something. The closest I ever got was right around COVID, 2020, 21. I can't remember the exact year that there was a job opening in Seattle, and I looked at it really seriously and kind of, went through, the whole process. But as I am figuring it out, we had just had Collins, and I'm starting to do the math in my head. And even if you're getting an okay pay raise to move back to Seattle, you start to really crunch the numbers, and you're like, okay, we can make this work. Now, where would we have to live? And to afford a house, you're living 45 minutes away from
Yakima,
work. Yeah,
not really.
Basically.
Kind of, yeah.
And
then you're commuting, and that's 4 hours out of your day.
And one thing I learned from my dad, we lived in Tacoma, he worked in Seattle, and for 35 years or whatever it was, he spent darn near 3 hours a day commuting up and back from Seattle. And I knew, okay, I'm not willing to sacrifice that. I lived 7 minutes away from work for 14 years. Now I live about, 13 minutes from work, I've doubled my commute, but it's still pretty short. And that's just I don't know, that just became a non-negotiable after I became a dad. I was like, no, if I want to run home for dinner or if I just want to run home to see them, I want to be able to do that. And if I'm 45 minutes at the shortest from work, you add on traffic, and that could easily double.
I lived in Seattle for a year, and I remember getting stuck once for 3 hours on the viaduct, and just being stuck.
And I just, that was a big point in time in my life where I was like, you know what, goals have changed.
Yeah.
How do I make this work? How do I make this as big as it possibly can be? How do I do this?
Camille? How'd you meet her? I don't think I know that story.
Yeah.
Your wife.
Golly, I don't want to give him credit for this or anything really. But our good friend Mark Johnson.
You said that, I was like, this is an MJ story.
Yeah, it is. It's an MJ story. So he invited me to play in a charity golf tournament at the River Club for it was for the Boys and Girls Club, and we were golfing, and she was working there as the cart girl, not long out of college, and I was like, all right, well, yeah, dropped some stupid pickup line. But that was really it at that point.
Is this when you were living down the street from me?
Yes.
Because you lived with our mutual friend Emily for a while.
Yep. That's when I was still living down in Southeast Boise. But so that was really kind of like the end of it. And man, it's been so long, Don. I don't even know if I remember the exact details. But 6 months later, she found me on Facebook, and we just kind of were messaging each other, and we're like, oh, I think she had a boyfriend or something at the time, so that we first met. But 6 months later, we were both single and went out on a date, and I believe it was February 19th. You have to check me on that one there, babe, if you watch this. And February 19th, I believe.
I remember your wedding. It was a very nice, very, very humble wedding. Joey Jenkins talks about it on the radio often enough that I've heard it 3 times. He says it was the best wedding he's ever been at, and the food, Joey on the radio. The food, they had barbecue. My buddy Jay, he had barbecue. And the first time he said it, I was like, buddy Jay. I was like, I know that wedding. But your wedding was especially memorable. My wife Kara and I were dating at the time, and had a great time at your wedding. What I loved about your wedding is, and the reason I say it was modest and humble is because what I'm about to say doesn't sound that way. You guys left in a helicopter.
Yeah. I felt like it was it's very reasonable outside of the helicopter probably. Yep. But Camille and I were engaged for a little over 2 years, and I thought honestly it was fun to be engaged. Actually, it's not quite 2 years.
I loved that part.
But it was maybe a year and a half or so. But either way, it was a longer engagement. We just kind of got to enjoy that, and it was fun. And then, I think that as we wanted to start our lives together, we thought, okay, let's focus on buying a house. And so we bought a house, and we wanted to have all that kind of figured out when we actually got married, and we did that. But I would say it was a very reasonable wedding. So what happened though is I would say a number of my friends got married before me, and I just got a really cool group of friends, and a lot of them did something cool at their wedding or whatever it was. And I was like, what hasn't been done yet? And what hadn't been done yet was somebody leaving their wedding in a helicopter. And I was like, well, we're doing that.
So we lined up with sparklers,
Yeah.
and you guys left, and we were like, why are we lining up with sparklers, and what are we lining up to? We didn't know as guests. And then the do I remember, was it Chopper 7? Because that was a rented helicopter.
7.
Okay.
There are a lot of people that like
misremember
I
that.
almost want to like just like, yeah, it was Chopper 7. It swung by to pick it. It was not Chopper 7.
Because you would see that helicopter sometimes fighting fires with the Channel 7 logo because it wasn't their helicopter. They just rented it.
Correct.
But they'd put the magnet on there and then go fight a fire, and there'd be B-roll video of.
Yes.
So I missed, but it was really cool.
Yeah.
And I've been to a lot of weddings, not a ton, but a number. Very memorable. It was a very cool way to start your lives together.
I feel like it was. We floated away, and actually it was kind of a cool thing too because one of my good friends that I met in Lewiston was getting married the same night in downtown Boise, so we flew over her wedding. And not like, I mean, it was not like we just took a picture and sent it to her or whatever, but we still like, hey, just let you know we stopped by real quick.
Oh, that's really funny.
Yeah, it was kind of fun.
Okay, so you're kind of a fun way to like look back on your career. Last couple of years, been a big time of change in the media. You and I chatted a little bit a couple of years ago, and we almost brought you over to Boise Dev, and you decided to stay put at the time. And for people who don't know, these TV contracts generally run in 2 or 3 year cycles, and so it means you have to make a decision about your life on a very like regular time frame. So you come up again this spring. You're like, man, what do I want to do with my life? Tell me about the transition and the decision, what you're willing to share, of course, from traditional media to something that's really not been done.
Yeah.
And then we'll dig into what that thing is.
You know, Channel 7 is the media in general has just changed a lot since, I first stepped foot in the door at Channel 7. I mean, YouTube existed, social media existed, but it was not like they were not money-making machines by any way, shape, or form. The linear platform was still the king. Yeah. And you could argue that, the linear TV still is king, but it's just so different now. And I think as I got older and tried to build a brand and things like that, in the community, that, I was ready for a little bit of a change or a new challenge, and I was really, really comfortable doing what I did, but it was just time to try to push myself and do something different. In all honesty, like you were a success story that I looked at. You went and started Boise Dev with, basically nothing.
Some
man.
tweets.
For real though,
we have a joke. This started as a hobby, and now we're 11 people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it showed like stuff like that's possible. And, so I kicked it around a little bit. And I think like the one thing that even over my current position that Channel 7 still definitely has, some equipment and things like that, for sure. It's much more streamlined. It's all set up, built and ready to go for you, whether it be ENPS for your scripts,
they've been doing it for 70 years, right?
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Systems exist. And
yeah. And so that was like a big, shake up for me, stepping away and maybe not just really leaning on some of that technology. And I'll even say now, like that I don't have it, it does streamline stuff. It does save you time throughout the day, but the challenge of doing it without it is also kind of exciting too. And you just have to figure out new creative ways that are really efficient and things like that. But so I just, my contract was up, and I think a big thing for me is working until 11 o'clock every night.
Yeah.
People
the 10 o'clock news.
Yep. People ask me now, like, "Oh, do you like working less?" And I honestly, I don't know how much less I work, to be honest with you. But my day has shifted to what I would call like a normal human day now.
Because you do a show at 4 o'clock 3 days a week.
3 days, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We're live on the Boise State Athletics YouTube page, as well as Facebook, some other social media platforms.
Follow, subscribe. Yeah.
Yeah, you follow, subscribe. But it's about a 45-minute show that's very Boise State centric. I mean, we focus on Boise State stuff. It's not only football. It's not only men's basketball. Today on our show, you'll hear from the women's golf coach. We'll talk women's about the soccer team that's playing for the Mountain West Conference Championships, or in the Mountain West Conference Championships. We highlight everything at Boise State. Football, yes, is the main one, but we highlight everything at Boise State, which is really exciting. But I still just think like I shift my day to a more it works better with my family and every other human for that matter, for the most part. I get up a little bit earlier. I get out the door a little earlier. but I get to see my kids every night before I get to put them to bed and eat dinner with them, which I love, man. Being a dad is just like the freaking coolest. It really is. Like for a long time when I get home, the kids are already in bed, and now I get home and I get like that, mid-90s sitcom family TV moment where I walk in the door and everybody's yelling dad, and they run and they hug me, and I'm like, oh, that doesn't get any better than this. And that's also another big reason why I decided to shake it up, and do what I'm doing now.
So Bronco Studios, you have a very visible, the old Bronco shop jutting out of the stadium.
Yep.
Big old sign. I felt like they needed to put your face on it, but big old Bronco Studios sign. And I know it's early days and you have big visions, but tell me where you are now and where you want to go with it.
Yeah, I think every day it's evolving and learning and growing. And honestly, even what we're doing now, I don't know if it was like the complete vision. I think that we kind of more thought that it was going to be, just sit down interviews, do a couple of them and call it a day. But my background
that doesn't sound like enough for you.
It wasn't. I was like, well, I got to add some production value to this and add context. And so whether it be VOSOTs or graphics or whatever I need to sprinkle in there, then that's what I do. And so my rundown I don't have ENPS. I build it in Excel.
Yep.
I even go in and try to color coordinate all the lines or whatever. So it kind of looks like.
We just did an event, and I produced it like a rundown in those newsroom softwares. We use Google Sheets, but same idea. And I like color code the lines, the same thing. Take PKG, like. Yep.
And so that's kind of, I just take my TV background and try to mimic it over here. And it's been fun so far. So right now we are kind of that 3-day-a-week show live at 4 on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I think. We've done, I think this will be our 35th show today, which doesn't seem like a big number, but also seems like a big number. Yeah. Our staff is pretty bare bones to get these shows done, but we churn and burn, and it's the same kind of grind like a newsroom, and that's what I kind of like about it. But I'm also now with very sports-centric people too, so I get along with them. They get along with me. I like the environment.
You have an office.
I have an office now. No big
nice
deal.
Office, no window.
No window. But you know what I started to do actually is on non-show days, I go up to the press box. Beautiful view up there. I don't know why. I sit up there for every game day. I never really take a moment just to check out the view. But right now all the trees are different colors. Yeah. You see the foothills. It's beautiful. So I kind of cheat and get out and go work in there.
The Paul Jay Tust Schneider press box.
I'm not on that status yet, but. I go hang out in Paul's press box. Yeah, that's.
So where do you want to take this? I know you have lots of thoughts and dreams, and other schools are maybe starting to figure this out.
They are a little bit
in-house media kind of a thing.
I think the important thing is trying to figure out how to grow it in a costly, efficient manner. But part of my job too is to express that what we do and what we don't need, but more importantly, what we do need to make this look good and feel good and all that stuff. And, we want to get it to a point where, prior to coming over, we talked about all this already, but whether it be pre-game shows, post-game shows, football, basketball, it's a 3-day show, a 3-day a week show right now. Will we eventually get it to 5 days? Do we, grand visions of adding a co-host one day or whatever it might be? But I think that, right now it would be awesome to just kind of grow it and just get to the point where I shoot a lot right now. I would like to maybe, and I know that's when I got
video just to people.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
It's hard. We're both slipping into lingo and I'm like, explain that.
But I still do. I do shoot quite a bit, whether it be highlights or interviews or any of that stuff. But, as I got a little bit older at KTVB, I was able to get out from behind the camera a little bit more. I still really enjoy it, like the blueprint and stuff that I did at KTVB. I shot all that every single year, and I had a great time doing it.
No one an Emmy? Do I remember that?
It was nominated.
I'm sorry. Man, I've been nominated and never won too, so
nominated
we can be in the club.
Every freaking time it was nominated, and I just can never
you're
push
up
it
against
across.
Precision, though.
I know, right? Well, I even got some nice compliments from people in Seattle, especially the last year, and I was like, maybe this is the year. Nope, somebody else from. It's hard to compete against Seattle. You go back and you look at the credit list or whatever, and it's me. And then you look at Seattle and they got like
Cairo and Como and KCBQ
30 people on there or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, but what I mean by that though is I just think that it would allow me to further my storytelling in different ways and churn more content. And I got some sit down interview types of ideas that I think could be fun that would also help in the NIL space and things like that. But I just gotta get to that point where we can do that. In the meantime, I just want to continue to prove to the people that believed in me that I'm all in. I want to work hard. I'm not looking for shortcuts. I don't like easy. I'm okay with hard. I'm competitive. I'm determined. I want to be the friend of everybody that I work with, and for them to be able to trust me or lean on me or just know that I'm reliable, whatever all that stuff is. I want to know that I'm in the fight with them to make this as big and as grand as it possibly can be.
I mean, it's an interesting time in covering sports in this town. I think, classically, once upon a time, you talk about Statesman had a big sports department.
Yeah.
Channel 2, Channel 6, Channel 7 all had Sunday night shows. Maybe Channel 6 didn't have a Sunday night show, but all had like sports departments, and that kind of withered away over the years. KTVB used to have 3 people in sports. Now they have 2.
That was before me.
It was before you. Yeah. I remember those days. And now you've got kind of a shift, and you have I noticed Channel 6 has kind of a Boise State beat reporter again, which is new for them and the first time in a while.
It's great. More the
is
merrier.
that Allie?
Yeah.
Yeah, Allie Tripke. And then you've got, obviously, BJ Rains, who left the Idaho Press and has kind
Who's
of
that?
built... Yeah, BJ.
Oh, okay.
Not AJ. Anyway, we BJJ and I'll get along really well. And, out there doing really impressive things. And we've got, like, Boise Sports Talk out there doing stuff on high school sports.
Those guys are great,
Insta,
by the way.
They are. And so you've got all this kind of interest and activity. You've got obviously Athletic Club Boise coming, and still the Hawks and all that. Like, sports is really a big deal in this town. You left being independent from Boise State, a journalist, a sports journalist. Now you work for the university, you cover the university. I know you still think of yourself as a journalist, but people are like, he shouldn't ask the coach a question. He's on the payroll. How do you balance that as media shifts and changes?
No, it's a great question, and I think it's even continuing to shift and change even after I got hired, because I think that one of the selling points for me was, and it was a big selling point, was no, we want you to come here and still kind of be your authentic self.
Yeah.
I was never one that ever just like poked the bear to poke the bear. Like I always felt like
That's me.
Did you bring up
including
BJ?
with your employer?
Did you bring up BJ, by the way? No, just kidding.
Well, yeah, and I don't cover sports, right? But
I love your Rainmaker.
Yeah.
But no, seriously, I when I got hired, I was just told to be my authentic self, because even like when tough topics would come up, I think that I would try to ask questions in a way that were respectful or really think about it too. Like, is this the reality, or are people just upset and everybody's yelling? So I always felt like when I did ask a tough question, it was warranted or things like that. And so, I think that's just something that we're learning, we're growing, we're walking through, kind of an example that, is at least in the, kind of the thought process of what we are talking about. Like, there wasn't a great call at the end of the Boise State men's basketball game.
Yep.
In my old position, I could have been very critical of said call. In my new position, I probably need to be a little more thoughtful about how I'm gonna, approach that. So, those are things to think about.
Well, and it's always interesting too. I mean, we've obviously had, and this is always the case with sports, fans are very passionate, very opinionated. And it's funny because like Twitter has changed a lot for most of people, but Boise State Twitter is kind of like hasn't changed much, and a lot of fans still got on there during the games. And boy, I don't remember a quarterback ever since Twitter came about that fans didn't think should be benched at least twice a season, right? And so you get that, fans are like, you got to bench so and so, or you got to fire this coach, or you got to do it, and they often take that ire out on the media.
Yeah, that can happen.
Like, BJ gets a lot of that. BJ likes to spar with people a little bit, and so he gets maybe more of it.
He must wake up every morning and put on his little sparring outfit.
Dude, that guy's got he's got thick skin. It's thicker than I do.
I agree. I agree. He's great. But also, he's great at it.
He is.
Don't tell him I said that.
Yeah. We'll see if he watches this. And so you're always dealing with fans who feel a sense of ownership over this thing. How do you kind of balance that out and be like, oh yeah, man, this is tricky, or that's tough, or there's a bad call, or the coaching decision was bad, or now that you're in house, how do you kind of weave that?
It's actually funny. It's actually, I think I might actually give you an opposite answer of what you expect. Because
love it.
Back in the day, like when I was just doing it by myself, they were more attacking my opinions, and that still might be the case now. But I will say, like, one outlook that Boise State has on it is like, okay, yeah, we would probably love it if everybody wasn't negative after a loss or things like that. But there is a genuine appreciation that it does mean fans care.
Yeah,
like there are other programs around the country where they go 4-8 and just there are 1,000 fans that show up at the final game of the season, and then maybe you see them next season, maybe you don't.
Yeah,
and I know that, like, social media can be pretty volatile after losses here. But I will say, at least, like, fans care,
And your boss, Jeremiah Dickey, gets in there and
he does. I don't know how many ADs do that.
Fans.
I don't know how many ADs do that around the country. He's ready to go at any point in time.
Sometimes it cranks people off, right? But then other people are just like, man, I really love that he does it, which is unique.
Yeah, which I mean, it's just a small window into seeing how passionate that man is about this stuff too. Like, he really believes in it. He, I love about the leadership that I have at Boise State. Whether it be JD or Cody Gogler or Chris Coots, like, those are the type of guys, like, you show up to work, the light's already on, and you leave work and the light's still on.
Yeah.
Like, they're ready to roll up their sleeves and get it out of the mud every single day. And I think that for people that even work their way up like those gentlemen have, there could be a sense of complacency. But I'm telling you, there is not. Every day it feels like it is a sprint to accomplish whatever they need to, or as JD would say, what's next every day. And you feel the intensity and sense of urgency every day with those guys. They are the tone setters, but even if you're out working hard, you never feel alone. Like, those guys are in it every single day.
We're in a funny changing time in media and sports and athletics and college sports. We've seen Boise Dev did a story a few weeks ago it's like a month ago on, there's this fan Facebook page out there that's just like cranking out fake stuff about the program. Like, the coach is dying and Madison's girlfriend is doing this, and like, it's just like AI slop, right?
Yeah.
And they're not just doing it here, they're doing it around
everywhere,
the country, and people like believe it.
I know that. I think that's an unfortunate thing. People do believe it, and you look down at something and you're like, "Oh God, this isn't true," and you're like, "Oh my gosh, it has 1,500 likes."
Yeah. And people commenting me like, "Oh, that's so sad," and I'm so sorry for the coach.
Right.
And it's like, this isn't real.
This isn't real.
And then you're like, and so people who are trying to tell facts, like you and I, are like, well, but and you want to fix it, you can't.
Yeah.
Do you think that puts more pressure on you to, like, really be on your game and put out good info?
Oh, I do, because in a way, I think that it does jeopardize even our credibility a little bit. It's like everybody thinks everybody's media now.
Correct.
And even when I say that, there might be people that don't have, like, a huge following that think I'm, like, attacking them. No, I'm not. Like,
no.
It's other people that just put out erroneous stuff, reactionary stuff, lies, but it all, like, in a way, like, goes into this, bubble, and we are in said bubble too. So, there are people that feel like it even subjects maybe our credibility at times, which is unfortunate, but that is the reason why, we have to be as hard-headed as ever and continue to try to present the facts and things like that. And, I'll even bring up something that happened at the basketball game the other night, because there was an injured player on the opposing team, and Boise State's trainer was, helping him off the court. But, like, they needed to get him off the court, but all that was posted on social media was this tiny little clip, and it looked like he was being dragged off the court. But the full story there was that team didn't have a trainer, and they had a player come off their bench that was trying to stretch this kid out because he's cramping.
Yeah.
And so you could see, like, Boise State's trainer, like,
sort of humanitarian,
I'm gonna go help
level. Yeah.
And so this is a tight game. That's their leading scorer, and she's at the edge of their bench for, I would say, at least 5 minutes trying to help this kid, and that part of the story
it's gone.
never gets exposed. And so that's just like another thing where, we gotta do our job, even if, both stories are thrown out there on social media, but fans want to react to what is more reactionary, and that's the one that goes viral versus the truth. Right. And so, you know how it goes. So we're just stuck out there trying to be our ho-hum self and just being like, well, it might not have anywhere near as many likes or mentions or whatever, but we'll just try to put it out there.
What does Bronco Studios look like in 5 years?
In my mind, we got our new studio finished. It's supposed to be right next door. We are a 5-day-a-week show. We have pre and post game shows for football, men's basketball. We have coaches shows for whoever wants a coaches show. We're doing cool things in the NIL space that. I think that we have these businesses that come to athletes, which is it's awesome, and we see the community support. But I also want to figure out a way that we can, return some of that value to the businesses, where it's more than just a random tweet or a Instagram post or something that shows that value. I think that there are some cool things that we might be able to do with the new North End Zone in terms of when and where we want to broadcast.
I toured it about 2 months ago, and there's some cool spots up there.
It's pretty gnarly, yeah. So I think that's what I want it to look like, and I just want us to be the envy of the Pac-12. I want every team in the Pac-12 conference to just go, what are they doing? And then we do it, and they go, I want them to go, how do we do that? And you brought up competition and stuff earlier. That's one thing. When I working at KTVB, I was here for a period of time where we had 3 other stations in the market.
That's right.
And all of them had sports directors, and and most of them had multiple person sports departments. And then it just all went away.
Yeah.
And initially I was like, this is great. Then I also found out that just kind of meant, we would kind of change how we, used our resources and things like that when there wasn't so much competition coming from the other side. So, bring it on. Like, let these other schools grow their programs. Like, I want them to put stuff out there that even motivates us. Like, no, we're going to stay ahead of you. This is what we're going to do now. And I'm hopeful for that. But so it oddly, as you say that, I hope every Pac-12 school has something like we do, but we'll just be the best at it, like we are in football and basketball and most sports. So
it sounds like that's what's next.
That's what's next.
Jay Tust, thanks for joining us on the Boise Dev Podcast.
Absolutely, Don. Pleasure being here.